Okay, all right. So thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Valdi Wiederpass. I'm a volunteer serving as chair of the Susquehanna Group of Sierra Club. Welcome to tonight's general meeting of our group. It features a presentation on the power of collaboration, including the economy, community well-being, and the environment. These meetings are free, open to the public. You don't have to be a member of Sierra Club to attend, but we encourage membership as it helps us by providing funding and lets us know your contact information so we can keep you updated on important matters. New York State is failing to prioritize climate and is pushing reckless nuclear power. So we are looking for volunteers to help with our environmental efforts, especially with regard to legislation, policies, and local projects such as the Move On project, as well as taking care of the Confluence Park Garden. There's many different activities you can get involved in, but a critical thing is what the state is doing, because that's where the action is in terms of trying to save a habitable climate, as far as what we can influence.
I know it.
The September edition of Susquehanna Sierra newsletter has been posted to our website. You can search for Sierra Club Susquehanna Group and you'll find that website that has recordings of our past meetings for about the last 2 years, as well as newsletters, a calendar of coming events, and other information. We will consider stories for our upcoming newsletters, which you can email to Sierra Club Susquehanna Group at gmail.com. The next newsletter comes out in December, and that one is it's going to be mailed. That's going to be a hard copy, and it's going to include ballots for our election to become a member of our executive committee, which meets once a month, except we take a break in the summertime for a couple of months. And we discuss what's going on locally as well as state level, and occasionally a little bit about the federal government, because that influences what happens here too. And then we decide on what priorities we need to work on in our group, and try to vote on which direction we need to go and what we need to do. So that's an important position, and we encourage people to write a 150-word candidate statement and submit that to Susquehanna Group, P.O. Box 572, Endicott, New York, 13760. And you have to mail that by November 1st. And then we will add that into our slate of candidates, and the ballots again will be mailed with the December newsletter. And New York is more than 3 years behind on the 2030 climate goals. And that's mentioned in our previous newsletters, and some of the awful state decisions that have happened recently are in an essay in the September newsletter too. So you can go back, look at what's been happening with the state. And as a result of that, we are asking people to please send in a comment on what's called the draft New York State Energy Plan, which is basically the state trying to set a course for the next 15 years on what they will be doing, how they will be trying to help save a habitable climate, whether or not they're going to meet their own climate law, which is called the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. So one place where you can find a template that will help you with suggestions, and you can customize what you want to say. It's New York for Clean Power. And if you do use that, I would please encourage you to also add that New York should not pursue nuclear power, because it is too expensive, too toxic, too risky, and too slow to build to be a climate solution. And that is the official position of the national level of Sierra Club, as well as the state level, which is the Atlantic chapter. So again, if you can make calls, if you can send emails to your elected officials at New York State government, please encourage the state to follow its own climate law, and call them repeatedly. Let them know that you care about saving a habitable climate. Tell them that you don't want nuclear power, and that you want the state to implement the Cap and Invest program this year, so that it can start raising money to help fund the transition we must make to have an electrified economy based on renewable energy. we've got upcoming events. There's on our website, there's a calendar link that you can see these too, so you don't have to write these down. But one event that you might have heard about, the Indivisible Binghamton group was planning to have a climate rally called Sunday. It's was sponsored by Third Act as well. It was going to be this coming Sunday on the 21st, but they canceled it because Indivisible has been too busy organizing very many things and they're tired. And then the 30th, there's going to be a meeting in Syracuse, 100 East Onondaga Street, starting at 11 a.m. Few of us went up there last year when the governor announced her push for nuclear power. And there was a press conference, there was a teach-in to explain to people why we're against nuclear power, and I learned a lot at that meeting. I'm hoping that I can go there, and this is a good event that if you want to consider, it would be nice if you could show up and show solidarity with other people that are going to be there. October 18th at 9 a.m. there's going to be the Broome County Riverbank Cleanup, which the Susquehanna group has been participating in for many, many years. And please meet at Conklin Avenue near the Washington Street Bridge if you want to volunteer to do that. The 21st of, this is October, 21st of October is another general membership meeting, and that's going to be Allison McGovern of the Materials Recovery Department. She's the manager of that for Broome County Department of Public Works. She will be discussing Broome County's solid waste management and recycling program. That's going to be a hybrid meeting, so it's in person as well as via Zoom. And then in November, on the 18th, again, it's still at 7 o'clock, is going to be another meeting like this one here, as well as Zoom hybrid meeting. And this is going to be Bryce Canyon and National Park Service staffing cuts. And that's going to be a presentation by Scott Laufer. So anyway, with that, I'm going to introduce Jeff Smith.
One more thing, volunteers.
Yes.
So to encourage healthy eating, there are pears and tomatoes on the front desk. Help yourself, they're organic. They're from one of the Vine Gardens that we're part of.
Very nice. Thank you for bringing those in, Scott.
Sure.
Okay.
Scott? The 2026 calendars are in and I have some with me.
Oh, yes. If you didn't hear that, the 2026 Sierra Club calendars are in, and Joanne Lettuce has those available for purchase. Anything else anybody want to bring up?
Oh, so with regard to Sunday, which is a national event, so we're not having anything at Red Park and they were doing, I looked it up a while ago, I saw, I thought your name was associated with summertime.
It was.
And then I saw Indivisible.
Yes, because there was email traffic going back and forth. They were reaching out to me as well as the Binghamton 2 Degrees folks because there was some confusion. Normally Binghamton 2 Degrees has an event the end of August typically. And I contacted them when I heard from Indivisible Binghamton saying, well, are you going to have your event? And they said, oh, well, we're going to have ours in early October. And so I thought, well, that's kind of soon after the Indivisible event. So I thought, well, are both of these really going to happen? And anyway, that's why the email traffic was going back and forth. And oddly enough, even Binghamton 2 Degrees decided to not do it this year. They're going to try to regroup and do it in the spring sometime. So that's what I know. Ithaca's having their Porch Fest, so I'm not aware of any Sunday events over there either. I know Albany's having one, but that's a long drive to go to for something like that. But you have to go online, Third Act, and then just remember that when they list Binghamton, it's not real because it's canceled and they don't know it. So
there's stuff going on.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that they're gonna go ahead and do their events. So, all right. So anyway, this is the main feature for tonight is that we're happy to have Jeff Smith here. He's going to give us an overview of the Tier Energy Network and Rotary Club's programs on the environment. He's going to describe collaborations through which members of the Tier Energy Network and Rotary Club are contributing to multi-stakeholder work to build a thriving, equitable net zero solutions to move central New York from a Rust Belt economy to a green economy that's thriving and healthier with better paying jobs. Biography for Jeff, he's President of Endwell Rotary and a past district governor of the former Rotary District 7170. He's also president of Tier Energy Network, which is a nonprofit formed over 10 years ago to support development of an industry cluster in clean energy technology in the Southern Tier. He serves as Secretary of Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group for Eastern North America. His volunteer work supports many organizations involved in economic development, community well-being, and environmental sustainability. He and his wife, Jeanne, have 4 grown children and several grandchildren across the country. He went to Corning West High School, also Corning Community College and Clarkson University. He has a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and an MBA from Binghamton University. He's retired from NYSEG. He was Vice President of Corporate Development for NYSEG. So with that, thank you, and you have the floor.
Okay, well,
Thanks,
thank you
Jeff.
very much. It's always good to travel with a technical expert and to keep us going. I'm very happy to be with the Sierra Club. I see many of you and many of the organizations that I am involved in, so we're already doing collaboration. So I'm here today on behalf of Rotary, ESRAG, which is an Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group, and Tier Energy Network. You have a great mission, and our first business is really to thank the Sierra Club for all they contributed. The oldest environmental organization in the country, 3.8 million members, is a powerful lot of numbers. And so we play a very key role, and these are just a few of your endeavors that can be leveraged. I have 3 primary things: collaboration and volunteers are critical for the transformation. So volunteering is very critical, and holistic planning. We try to look at the economy and the well-being and the environment at the same time. And we do that here, and we do it internationally as well. To talk about a holistic plan, you first have to understand the needs assessment of this particular region. Now, we'll do it very simply with just this graph, which gives you population in Broome County from 1900 to a little while ago. This thing is moving on me. And we had rapid growth for 70 years. In fact, when we had the Depression, we didn't even slow down. Then we hit the 1970s, and manufacturing was being outsourced, and we've had 5 decades really of reduced business activity, reduced employment. And then hidden behind this curve, the quality of jobs went down, the average pay went down, poverty and other social needs have gone up. 50 years is a long time, and it has a big impact over time. Give you one example: in 1970, the poverty rate of Broome County was lower than New York State averages and lower than the federal average. So the poverty rate in Broome County today is about the highest in upstate New York. The same thing is true for food insecurity. We also have significant issues with substance abuse and other things of that nature. And we're not going to solve these things without getting everyone in collaboration. That's business, education, service providers, the whole works are required to build a dent. You haven't made a dent yet. That's the concern. The trends continue. So this is very important. I mean, you can't push environmental sustainability to a child that doesn't know where their meal is coming. So you have to solve some of these issues to be able to move forward for everyone. So 5 decades of decline, we've already discussed it. There are multiple barriers to employment: housing, daycare, transportation, poverty, food insecurity, mental health, to name a few. And I would say that our municipalities are underfunded, and our nonprofits are underfunded. And so we have a lot of good ideas, but there's not necessarily the funding there to carry them out. And that's why we have to be involved I've worked with the Addiction Center of Broome County on and off. And we had a recent presentation from them. They now have 1,600 customers. I don't know if that's the right term. 30% of those don't have a home. And so it's hard to correct drug abuse when you have that level of need. At the same time, we have what some people describe as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The key question that we have is, can that opportunity impact underserved and rural communities? But there is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm not going to go through all these things that are on this chart, but we have a lot of very strong developments along the southern tier in clean energy manufacturing. EAE is now getting into electric aviation. That's a major move. We're very fortunate that they chose to expand here. In Endwell, or Endicott, there's a $65 million initial investment for that. They're also big, of course, in the drivetrains for buses, electric buses, hybrid buses. And they're in flight controls, which makes them very good partner for people around the world in terms of electric aviation. Raymond is going great guns. They've exceeded their site. They're expanding to Binghamton and Rochester. They don't just sell forklifts, they sell wholesale operations, a ring of wholesale operations. Amazon is their biggest customer. And so these are big things. And we have other big companies, Lockheed Martin, Corning, Alstom, and the list goes on. We have New Energy New York, which is fairly new, is well endowed with funding. And we're a federal tech hub now for batteries. And then along the southern tier, we're a federal tech hub for semiconductors. There's probably 100 companies along the thruway involved with that industry cluster. Micron being the biggest, will be the largest chip plant in the country when it is completed. So if you add all of these things up, we have more opportunities now than we ever had. But when will we begin to feel them, and when will we begin to feel them, you know, in all levels of our population? And so that's what we have to work on. I suspect 10,000 to 20,000 new jobs just in our area. It'd be a lot more than that along the thruway. So we have these big needs, right? And we have these big opportunities. And so what is the strategy for our region? Now, I don't necessarily see that written everywhere, but we've come up with our own. Addressing the growth opportunities, there's a lot of work to doing that. There's the barriers to employment. I mean, we're talking major things. The aging infrastructure, we can't do electrification in some areas because we don't have the capacity. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to identify it? How are we going to identify it soon enough to be able to get the needed changes made? So there's a lot of planning that has to go into this to do it cost effectively. Municipalities now have to address the climate challenge, which Bill Gates thinks will be the largest transition the world has ever seen. This is not a small thing. I threw in modeling because I believe doing modeling at both a county and a regional basis is going to be very key to picking the best solutions. Each county has its own attributes. And so doing it independently is not going to lead to the best solution. And we also think we have a lot of local planning to do to be good at this. We have to reimagine our communities. I'm sure you've driven around many communities that don't really look the same now that they did many years ago. And this is significant. When somebody brings in their family to stay here, they're going to look at certain factors, their schools, you know, the way the place looks. And so be able to attract and retain the resources we require requires us to make improvements in our communities. We have the adaptation to changing technology with AI. That involves us at many levels. It involves our jobs. It involves our children's jobs to be. It involves environmental sustainability. How are we going to power all the data needs of AI data structure? In fact, we have three primary needs for power: electrification, which you want for environmental sustainability, climate mitigation. We have these new growth opportunities like a Micron and other places, which are very extensive. And then we have all the data needs, AI data needs. That's a serious thing to solve in the most effective way, getting inputs from all the respective departments. And you can't end up with a no solution because no one agrees. There's no solution is a problem. Local, state, federal, private funding, there are a lot of opportunities. But if you're a rural community, you don't have the staff and the time to go through that. And this is a work effort to do this funding, but they need the funding. And so we have to find ways to be able to bolster our smaller communities in a number of different ways. We're going to have a new focus on that. We believe broad-based collaboration, everyone, and there's a bit of science to that. I try to follow strategic doing, the skills of agile leadership. We encourage people to take a closer look. There's ongoing trainings in that, and I think it's very important. We can't operate in silos anymore because there's so much work. I mean, no municipality can do all that, and volunteers become more important to the regional transformation, and they can come from all places. Our K through 12, we can use them better. Students and professors, retirees, and the list goes on. Some good news, I think Binghamton University is providing a lot of support to community initiatives through their professors, capstone projects, and students. Well, they've been very key on our work on food insecurity. They allow us to go at a much faster pace. And so that's a positive thing. Getting volunteers though is a little harder than it used to be. And Rotary got started, so we have to be very creative in making that happen. And our business leaders, I mean, running the business is a high skill set, and you need that skill set in all aspects of our community. So there's a role for everyone. Just some positive examples. The Broome County Food Council is probably the best collaboration I belong to. It has 70
And we
organizations.
get just a little
At a very
closer to the
pace. The Department of Health
microphone
now includes others
to
in
maybe
their
improve
assessment.
the
Broome
sound
County Environmental
quality,
Management
question
Council,
mark.
I see some of you at that. There's 4 committees. Binghamton 2 degrees. Some of you are involved in that. There's 7 committees on climate change. And then there are individuals that are doing some pretty significant work, like Good Neighbors. 2 sisters, one in Florida and one up here, developing food recovery and doing a good job. It's amazing, what one individual can do.
Excuse me, Jeff,
Yes.
we just had a comment from people online saying they had a hard time hearing you. Maybe you can just speak up or.
Oh, okay.
Put the mic
Yep.
closer, thanks.
I hope this is better.
Much better in here too.
Okay. Rotary can play a role. Rotary International, we don't have 3.8 million members, but we got 1.4 million. They're in 200 countries and territories. We're a partner to the United Nations, and we helped to found the United Nations many years ago. We have 7 areas of focus. The last one is the environment, so that's right up your alley. But we do have other ones, like peacekeeping. You may not know, but we have trained over the past 10 years, 1,800 peacekeepers through 7 universities around the world. Peacekeeping, the need there does not seem to diminish. But we have maternal and child health, community economic development, water sanitation and hygiene, and disease prevention and treatment. We're divided into districts. Our district covers central New York, 110 communities, 2,800 members, and we partner with other organizations to make a bigger impact. We broadcast around the world or within our region, and so we're good at sharing best practices around the world. And our Rotary Foundation is very highly rated for humanitarian work. We have 27 Rotary action groups. Peace would be one, food would be another, substance abuse would be another. And then we have the environment. You can go on the ESRAG website, ESRAG, and take a look at what they have to offer. They have 6 broad themes, but when you go below those themes, we're talking over 100 projects. And as we all know, this transformation in the environment and climate is enormous. no one organization ability to do this, and it requires tremendous collaboration, and we don't have that much time. You know, so a lot of times we do things incrementally. But, you know, we're really taught that you start with the end in mind and work backwards. And so the pace has to be a little bit faster, as we discussed earlier. Some of the projects that we do, you know, we encourage clubs to be climate friendly. We have guidelines for doing that. We have a partnership with Habitat for Humanity. With longstanding, we try to put solar installation on our roofs. We actually go on our website and donate money toward a solar panel. Lunch out of landfills, we had a presentation on that last night, but that's to reduce the food wastage in our schools, which is enormous if you were to measure that. So we have a program on that. Then we do things like million solar panel. That's just a number we picked, and you can go track it online if you want to. But we're just trying to accelerate this type of work. Operation Pollination, we do that across the world really, but in the United States, we have a person from the Federal Parks Department is in charge of that, and he's very active. And so other things, watersheds, rivers, and oceans are huge. Eco Action Group is something that we could do here. We take a few people from Rotary and we add other community people to take on a particular aid. They don't have to join Rotary. They should join ESRAG, which is $30. But we could do a specific project, like we're thinking the town of Union. They don't really have enough resource to take care of the tree. You know, they're a tree city. And so we could help them implement that and give them all the credit. But we could do the work as volunteers. Pure Energy Network is more on the technical and business side. We have people that are in manufacturing, finance, project management, utility operation. We studied the markets. Our original focus is to help create an industry cluster in clean energy in the southern tier, the whole southern tier. Now we get more involved with climate mitigation, the technical side of that, the modeling of that, keeping on track of the ISO and the changes for the energy projects, and the ones that are coming off and the ones that are coming on. We're able to do that by county, so we have county summaries and we kind of update their data information. And we've been providing programs for 10 years. So just about any program and startup in the region has been on our program, including the ESRAG and NYSERDA and Ithaca Green New Deal and many others. We're just a volunteer organization. We have no paid positions. These are some of the things that we provide. I've described some of those. So what I'd like to do for the next 5 minutes is talk about 5 specific projects that you may or may not be aware of, but they're things that you could possibly be aware of, and some of you have been involved in some of these. But first, we do have a written strategy for the Susquehanna River watershed. We first started that about 5 years ago. The impetus was the Cooperstown Rotary Club and the Lions Club, and they started cleaning out the Susquehanna River. And I mean cleaning out, that's with divers and rafts. And they do that every year since. And they said it'd be nice if Rotary had a focus on the entire length of the river. So when we wrote our initial strategy, we came up with 3 phases. That would be New York, rest of the river, 444 miles. And then we were asked to include the Chesapeake Bay. Now, we're not too active in that area. We're still busy with the New York portion. But ultimately, we wanted to do an entire water body. So that provides Rotary and others a view on an entire water body from start to finish. We're pretty detailed. It's holistic. So it's we're interested in the economy of the New York watershed. We're interested in the well-being and the poverty and all that. And we're interested in environmental sustainability. So we're trying to move all of that. It's more complicated, but I think that it's best in the long run. We're very detailed. We identify collaboration opportunities by county and region. I sent you a copy of what we've done for Delaware County. I'm updating that for the other counties in New York. So it's probably 3 to 4 pages, which include all the organizations that we know of that are involved in the environment and the economy. I have to add some for well-being. The projects and programs they have already. And then we have subject matter experts. So if people want to work, they have somebody to talk to. So eventually, we want to be able to measure where we are. And we do this in collaboration with others, so our information is public information. Anyone is welcome to have it. And we have wonderful watersheds in New York State. So, my initial priority is Susquehanna River, but next is the Delaware, probably third will be the Finger Lakes. I'd like to get, other organizations involved. First thing we do though is we understand who's doing what right now. We don't want to copy anything. We don't want to be duplicative. In many cases, we just support what's going on. The Great Lakes, it takes 30 Rotary districts to get around the Great Lakes. They represent 21% of the world's freshwater supply. But still, I find amazing that 21% of the entire world's water supply is there, but that's the case. So there's tons of work, lots to do. You won't be able to read this very well, but many folks have been collaborating on the newly started water trail that goes from 190 miles from Cooperstown to Corning, New York. They have funding for marketing and signage, things of that nature. I believe it's federally accredited sort of thing. And the Parks Department helped with the planning of this particular project. So what we want to do, we want to help promote it. We want to do additional conservation areas. We want to make public use of the rivers easier. We don't have a provider in Binghamton, which was surprising. Portlandville, we have a great provider, but we don't have one here. We want more events on the river. We want to make it more of a destination. And so that's our holistic view of this particular project. If you go to explore the 607, I think you'll be impressed with the website. I'll just mention one international project. This is Help for Haiti from Suni Broom. We've been, your Gay Cano is a member here, I believe. She did all the solar work in Haiti, including the training and the installation and certification and all that sort of thing. But 10 years ago, there was nothing here. There was no bathrooms. There's no clean water. That river was the only source of water. No electricity, that sort of thing. And so we've supported through Gay's work and also with some small grants, things of that nature. The big thing though is education. 10 years ago, 10 students or 20 students were taught in a church, and today they're teaching 300 students in their own classrooms with computers, with meals from their own garden, with clean water, accredited teachers. They now take the state exams. So to me, it's a very good and measurable outcome. So we can have an impact on other parts of the world. Another one, we've been collaborating with Cape Cod, you might be surprised, for 4 years now. We do this through Tier Energy Network and ESRAG. On the Southern Tier side, we have a long list of accomplishments, including the Thicker Green New Deal, the 2030 District, Finger Lakes Reuse, etc. All those organizations have reported through 10 and through ESRAG. And then the Cape Cod region has provided an update on their work. Their biggest thing is connected communities. You mentioned net zero, connected communities, a net zero solution for carbon emissions and water discharge. They've developed a holistic plan for this, and we're going to talk about it, but it's funded. The construction's taken place. This isn't a theoretical project. It is taking place now. These are some of their partners. They do a lot of work with Project Green Schools. These solutions are being done at the schools to begin with. So it's pretty exciting, and it's holistic. It includes agriculture, it includes STEM, it includes workforce development, agriculture, all the technology that you think you would need. We're also doing residential establishments at net zero, and they like us need a lot of housing. I can't tell you exactly how much money has been given by the state of Massachusetts, but it's over $100 million to implement this. So what we're doing, the Cape Cod Watershed Institute developed a proposal for the Earthshot competition. The Earthshot is in the UK. They award 5 awards each year, £1 million in there are 5 different categories. And so we are in the climate category. We haven't won yet, but we don't even need a sponsor next year, and so we update it all the time. In one sense, we don't need the funding because we got a lot of funding, but I think it's good to be involved and gets us a lot of PR. So our proposal is to scale the net zero solutions for carbon emissions and water discharge to other regions, and then we added to developing countries because these are folks who are looking for big solutions. So we'll scale to the southern tier. We've been working on that. Also, people in Southeast Canada want to be involved. When it comes to developing countries, it's more complicated because of the different situations. So we develop a portfolio of net zero products and services that we can pick and choose from. And then we also support holistic strategies for developing countries. So the candidate for this will be the Health for Haiti project, or another project we do in Kenya on for students. And then through Project Green Schools, they have connections to 6,000 schools. And then we have a foundation from Boston that's doing a lot of work in India. And so we can combine different funds to do this. The Earthshot people ask how native populations are involved in project planning and development. So that's something we have to bolster. The BU is very involved with the Haudenosaunee. I don't pronounce it right. So we just had one festival in that regard. And the school in Ithaca does work with the local tribes there. Local collaboration, we try to belong to everything we can. We're on the executive committee and Broome County Food Council. I lead the Western Broome Endwell Rotary and the Western Broome Initiative. We're involved in Binghamton 2 Degrees, the subcommittees, Environmental Management Council, the Chamber, the Decker Foundation for Nonprofits is a brand new one. We're looking at a center for nonprofits. There's about 507 of these across the country. So it's a way to save on costs for nonprofits and increase collaboration. So we're just in the front end of that. We'll see where we end up. Binghamton Baseball Booster Club, #1, games tonight, right now. But we're interested in supporting, all the communities, arts, seats businesses, that's arts and sports. Southern Tier Land Conservancy, I've seen some of your folks there. Endicott Pro, we've been doing that for 10 years. And then we're starting a new initiative, the rural community development. We just have to find a better way to support this stuff. We will not go through this. This will be left for you, but these are subject matter experts. Chris is on here for the Move Out project. I should put you on that too. But, so you can add to this list. This list is you can include any organization, and it's for use by other organizations, Rotary clubs, to help them, take an initial step on what to do. And you can talk to us if you want. So this is the end. Some other future date, probably not today. But we could have further collaboration discussions, on specific projects. Pollinators, we want to accelerate that. The watersheds. Delaware County, you're in Delaware County, how can we improve, Delaware County? Support on flood designated properties, the Southern Tier Land Conservancy, and the resiliency study by Broome County, that's gonna be a big topic. Rural community development, some of the Rotary programs or other programs. Funding collaboration. Someone needs to identify all the funding and then help people develop those applications. There shouldn't be 100 individual organizations that don't have the staff to do it. And so we miss out because we don't get a process. So we could do that better. And there you go. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Oh, I was wondering if you have any connection to, religions, installing solar panels in federal houses in the US. But you work in countries that, perhaps, don't have tariffs based on panels driven by China. And I'm looking at the biggest bang for the buck, like in Pakistan, for example, where the Chinese panels at super low prices.
Yeah.
Farmers putting them up. I wrote down that panels are cheaper than the hardware mountain ones, so we just put them on the ground, we use them for electricity, for pumping water up to what, well.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if any root connection with like the ancient Haiti, if they have access to cheap.
Yeah, Haiti does. Gay, was,
It's kind of a simple question.
okay, the question was informed development, do people have access to the different sources of solar powers, including China? And
Cheapest.
cheapest, yeah. And I can't answer that question precisely, but Gay could answer that better than I can. But she oversaw all the solar panels we've installed in Haiti. And our policy is to buy local. So all that material was bought local. If we bring it in, first of all, it's hard to get it in and keep it. But it doesn't help their economy. So almost everything we do is from local providers. Now, I don't know if those panels are from China or not. I can find out. We have a group that's the Million Panel program. Those people would have be able to answer your question. So I can ask them that.
Jeff, does the Tier Energy Network, work with large scale development projects, or are you just focusing more on, smaller residential?
No, it depends. First of all, when we started out, we were involved with entrepreneurship. So mentoring entrepreneurs. So we're more on the business side. But more recently, we've become more involved in the climate in terms of planning and things of that nature. I would say the partnership with Cape Cod is a large project. So we work on that. But other things, I think, my biggest concern would be a lack of planning and modeling in the Southern Tier. We're just not into this. We don't know the information well enough. We don't know where the barriers are going to be in terms of our capacity. And that's a long build out time, and it's also expensive. And we don't have the sites. We haven't fixed our infrastructure shortfalls. We haven't fixed our housing. I would also say I try to influence a regional plan, a detailed regional plan with in-depth collaboration. New Energy New York, IDA, the county, the city, drive the ship.
One problem I see locally with town governments in particular is they have a lack of staff that has time and or understanding of technical subjects. And even when you tell them that, oh, there's a template available. Here's where you get it, if you wanna set up like a local, law that governs how you site solar farms or where. And what you should do, and a similar question for like battery-based, energy storage projects. They're very quick to have the knee-jerk reaction when a developer comes to the town, go, oh, we wanna build a solar farm, and they actually talk to local community members, and they're willing to sign a lease for their land. They end up passing a knee-jerk moratorium, and Vestal just did this 3 years in a row.
Yep.
And that's, to me, it's embarrassing, because Vestal hosts Binghamton University, and I don't understand what the excuse was. I spoke at their town meeting over a year ago now, and they didn't really have a good reason. They didn't explain why they extended the moratorium another year. Do you have an answer for this? Like, how do we get our local leaders to listen and pay attention and do what needs to be done?
What are you talking about? They were worried about fires from solar farms. There was something absurd like that.
Yeah,
Water runoff was one thing they were worried about, erosion of the ground beneath the solar panels was one thing they talked about, but these are unfounded things.
well, I don't have your answer yet, but the towns, we're in a transformation,
Yeah,
and we have to do things differently. But right now, towns are responsible for their own regulations and laws and things of that, permitting. And I think the only way out of that is for us, for the county, to be able to get people together and talk through these things. You know, you can't just make them do it, but we have to use some logic, and we don't do that. We don't communicate in a positive and factual manner. You know, we're just talk about what we see as shortfalls. So we need a full court press on our towns. There's 16 of them. Each one has different situations, but they can be between you and the end game. And so we have to work on that. Communications is big. That's why it has to be a collaboration. Right now, we have business doing business things, and we have environmental people doing environmental things, and they don't get together near enough. And so we don't reach a consensus. So talking across purposes. I think the need for sites is another area, you know, that we've got to have a common discussion on. You know, why are we doing the things that we're doing? And no one person is going to be perfectly happy, because we're going to have to compromise. But you have to do that. And we have to start off with the education. Now, that's the same thing that you need to do for K through 12. But there it's a more receptive audience. They're actually going to be the generation that does most of this work. They're more eager. They want to do things. And so we have to give them the opportunities, the education, and make that, 10 times better, 10 times more productive. So we'll do that.
Yeah, this list right here is related to ESRAG, right? Not Terran Network.
No, either one.
What would be Terran Network on that one?
Delaware County, we're interested in the economic development of all the counties. Rural community development.
We seem to have a lot of solar farm operations in process, but they don't seem to get really far. They stop at some point
Yeah, and they're
over and over again.
They're stopping faster now. Yeah, in the new administration. County Union has had 3 or 4 back out.
Are you at all involved with IDA, Stacy Duncan and those folks?
Yes, I know them. I was on the board once.
Okay.
Yep, so I'm now the IDA, a new positive development there are 8 IDAs that are doing a collaboration on the next round of development. And I think their purpose is to be able to address, the barriers, lack of sites, maybe water treatment that needs to be fixed up. left of infrastructure. And so those are the types of things we want to see. You know, do it ahead of time. You gotta get ahead of it. Yes, sir.
You mentioned this earlier, but I'm just gonna ask again. One big problem we have is the time crunch is getting more and more urgent because the climate problem, the physics of the climate problem is not going to relax just because the political will is lacking. And how do we get volunteers to help us with this? And a secondary question, I guess maybe I should have asked this first. How do we communicate to the public so that we cut through the noise of everything else everybody's worried about? Because this isn't gonna go away, and it affects people's livelihoods, it affects jobs, it affects the economy, it affects how much taxes they pay, how high their insurance rates are for their car, as well as their homes, or even their rent, if they're not a homeowner. It affects so many things, and people don't connect the dots. Also, the grocery prices are a significant contributor to grocery price inflation is climate change effects. How do we get this message out to the public and get more volunteers to join in to, or even get people to even call their elected officials and bother them to get them to do what, you know, is in law? The state doesn't follow a law unless you make them follow a law. I used to be naive like 10 years ago. If there's a law, why isn't the state following? Now I see, well, they just don't care because they figure they've checked off that box. They passed the law, so okay. And now we've lost interest because we've got other political things to worry about. We want to get reelected. Anyway, I'm going on too long. If you have an answer.
Well, we were just asked a lot of questions. Well, first of all, we have a lot of volunteers. I mean, the work of Binghamton 2 Degrees, I mean, Binghamton University is still moving forward. So we have volunteers, the 7 committees, you know, are important committees, and that work probably needs to be accelerated. We have other organizations, New Yorkers for Clean Power. And so we have a lot of people that are really making progress. There's a lot of work that we can do right now. You know, we don't, no matter what anyone says, in terms of encouraging housing, solar on housing, doing some of the agricultural projects, and things of that nature. We're doing a food system plan that'll be for Broome County, and now we're including Tioga County. That starts October 1st. That will get into a lot of these questions of the agriculture, and land use, and things of that nature. So we have a lot of positive things we can do ourselves. Politicians will come and go, but we're here. We just do the best we can. Now, the communication you mentioned, well, there's a piece of work we haven't done very well. No one's done very well. And there's different messages. And so that's, you know, that we need to work on that, but we need to do what we can do. And the better we get, better process we can have for doing what we can do can be applied to the other things that are help out when they turn around. I mean, it'll turn around at some point. But we got tons to do. The watersheds, pollinators, you name it. So I'd rather be implementing. I'm into implementation. So how do we scale these things? There's a lot we can scale without political influence. But each piece is important. The towns.
You mentioned land use. Are there any like agri-solar projects going on in Broome County?
Well, the New Yorkers for Clean Power just put on a presentation, I think it was yours, right? On agrivoltaics, so there's a lot of, I think that provides a lot of hope. And but we've got to do our job, follow up on the presentation and then take it where it needs to be taken. And I would say taking it to the towns would be one of the places that we would take it.
There was also another presentation by Climate Reality, and then there was a series of 4 talks in July by CCE So agrivoltaics, there's a lot of support for it, and get everybody on the same direction.
I think there was a local project proposed for solar. That was a combination of farming and solar panels. But I think it was proposed for road area. But I don't remember the company, and I don't know if it's still active or whether it's kind of faded away, or I'm not sure. So if you do a search, you might be able to find something. Just don't know, I'm sorry, but it's a good point, and it's a valid thing, and just to let you know, I did write an essay that ended up being picked up beyond our Susquehanna Group's newsletter. It ended up being published in the Atlantic chapter 2. The biggest permanent loss of farmland historically is urban and suburban sprawl. In other words, development that where a farmer sells off part of his land and it gets subdivided into lots for homes, or a business park gets put in, or a strip mall or something like that. Once that happens, the farm doesn't come back. But solar, it's typically that the poles for the racks are driven into the ground. You can pull those back out at the end of, if the farmer doesn't want to lease the land anymore, you pull those back out, take the panels away, recycle the panels, and then you can still keep on farming. It's not a permanent loss of farmland, even if you don't do agrivoltaics. So this fear mongering that people have been pushing recently, and there's a few New York legislators that are on this bandwagon. Unfortunately, it is just that. It is fear mongering. It actually helps keep the farmers holding on to their land and keep farming, is what solar leasing of solar farms or solar farms on their land does.
Are there certain kinds of agriculture that are more amenable to agri-solar? I mean, I've seen things like that, we use sheep to.
Sheep is a common one.
Short, so you don't have to mess around with that.
Yeah, and if you want to do cows, you have to have the racks up, raise them even higher. There's certain crops that grow better in partial shade, especially through our summer heat waves where we
In
get.
New York State, are there forms of agriculture that fit well with agri-solar? I think maybe in the Midwest.
Cornell is actively working on researching this too. They've got some pilot projects on this too, I think. So, I don't know the details off the top of my head. I can't remember everything, but I recall seeing something like that.
But that's one way of kind of lumping the objection would be having the whole takes up so much land.
Right.
We're also farming it, farmers get a benefit from the shade. And the growing the shades and the solar panels. It'd be a win-win.
Right.
It is temporary, but solar installation, regarded as a temporary thing until fusion power comes along 30 years down the road. Maybe you'll get a sort of thought.
You got a question?
So I've been working with this theme, I can't credit the correct people for it, called multi-solve. And it's doing exactly what you've been doing for years, getting people together to reach a common goal. And one of the things that I feel would make a lot of progress in our areas especially is the battery energy storage systems. Because like the solar projects, there's more and more moratoria that are coming up everywhere. And it's a knee-jerk reaction. They don't understand the current safety models. But it's very hard to help like the energy development that we need to do for having battery production in our area and developing a sort of green jobs corridor. When the communities that would be employing these people, the state supports the universities, but then the state also has a lot of miscommunication with communities that doesn't make it clear to the communities that if you want battery energy development, you have to want batteries in your community.
Right.
And it seems like that big fight against themselves is just such a waste of energy. And if we could just communicate a little bit better, there could be so much more progress.
That's why we need the collaboration, and the more we do, the better. And in terms of storage, one of the things that we can do is take care of some of the capacity shortages. And so if we actually do that in communities and then provide more room for economic development, more room for electrification of buses, things of that nature, then that becomes a positive trend. There's a new company in Buffalo, Rotary, and they're good on two frameworks, or at least two. But they're building a kind of a standard package for storage. They can go in commercial installations. That should be readily available. This one has a low probability of fire in the design. The third thing, and probably maybe more important, is that they're in the middle of probably the worst community in upstate New York, and they have developed special programs to be able to hire those local folks. And I think they hire about 70% from the local community, and this is a tough community. And so they have advanced programs and some nonprofits that tackle a pretty tough issue.
What's the name of the
Rotary, E-I-R-I-D-I.
E-I-R-I,
You can Google that.
B-R-I-D,
I-D-I.
B-R-I-T-I.
E-I-R-I-D-I.
So good.
We'll bring them down for a presentation at some point. On both factors, the community side and then the installations themselves.
We can share a video, presentation video.
you
for
did.
us, So, yeah, just get in touch with me. By then.
Yeah, maybe you could get that.
Just send it out to Elizabeth.
I can send it on.
Yeah, there's part of the problem with communication is that the people that want to help save a habitable climate, they have less money. The people that are trying to extract every last bit of coal, natural gas, and oil that they have paid the extraction rights for, they can just spend what's to us pocket change to spread fear across social media and through outright paid advertising on traditional platforms. And it's very hard to counter that fear mongering. And I don't know what the answer is, but taking out a half-page ad in New York Times, for example, is like, I've been told it's about $50,000 just for one day. And it's like, and then how many people actually read the New York Times now? And even if they do, will they see that specific ad? Will they read it? So you're competing against this landscape where they are constantly pushing misinformation every day. And I don't know how you fix that, but we're on the losing side of this.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think you're on the winning side. Just a couple of years ago, we've eliminated almost all coal-fired generation in the state. There's other things we haven't done. I would say around the world, people have a pretty progressive attitude toward climate change. So you have some examples out west and things like that, but I don't, each year, I think we have a stronger case. And now it gets disrupted by politics, sorts of things. New York's got serious problems to address. One is downstate, one is the power supply for all those different outlets. Those are major things and a very highly political state. But I don't think, I personally, I believe what I believe. And these articles don't make any difference to me. And there's a lot of people like them. So it's, I don't know.
And economically speaking, the case is progressively getting in our favor.
Right.
So people that keep proposing to stay on the what's becoming more and more expensive in comparison, eventually they're going to lose. And but globally, it's more obvious that 90% of the new projects, I believe, that are being proposed, they're cheaper with renewable energy than they are with fossil fuel or other traditional forms of electric generation.
And you have people like Bill Gates, they wrote an excellent book on transformation for clean energy. That was like 5 years ago. And that's a good read. It provides a great summary. He's the one that's saying this is the biggest challenge that the world will ever face. There's another investment banker, much the same thing, he came up with this is 5 years ago. So there are more and more key people that, that are doing things. And then when you think of our businesses, BAE is going for electric aviation. Now, they're not gonna do that if they don't think they're gonna have some support. Those are major investments, but they're going full speed. They're going full speed on electric buses. The Raymond's going full speed on electric forklifts and warehousing solutions. So if you look at your businesses, we have 50 startup companies in environmental and climate. 10 years ago, we had none. So that's why you need a holistic view. I don't get what I see on TV or political announcements. I don't get swayed too much by that. We have to make our own judgment.
So I've been following, Invisible has a truth brigade. And the Climate Advocacy Lab also has a comparable thing. And it provides information about how not to get sucked into punching in misinformation as it comes up, because then we're just always fighting and falling behind, and how to set out positive messaging. But the one thing that both of those groups have done that I feel like we really need to do more of in our area is involving minority populations. Because minority populations have cell phones, so they can fight with positive informational messaging. And very often, according to surveys, minority populations of all ages are much more motivated to defend and fight against the climate. And we can think of fights in Louisiana and fights in Tennessee, where they've just been grassroots organization that won, for at least a time until the next one comes up. And so I feel like if we could stick with positive messaging and continue outreach to all the groups that are most affected, and that they could be most effective as partners, because these national representatives, there's things that you can point them to and say, your home is with all of us.
No, that needs to be done. I would add youth to that as well. Now, this is where Binghamton 2 degrees could come in. We used to do sessions, and we break off into groups, and we had Nia there with her model so you could visually see. And so we need to do specific topics and technologies in that same format. So one could be communications to the community. And so you get this diverse group. Okay, well, what are the groups? What are the messages? And then how do we make that happen? So that should be a Binghamton 2 degrees event or someone else. But it needs a collaborative, it needs several input. It can't just be the environmental message, because that's not getting through by itself. It needs to be coupled. When these companies are providing jobs, this is economic development for us, especially the Southern Tier. Southern Tier probably has more clean energy technology development than just about any region.
Is it indivisible, and what was the other group?
Climate Advocacy Lab. And so the people who run their meetings are all people of color. And the people who are attending and taking action are people of color, young people, but try especially to reach out to young people. But obviously they're letting me attend, so I'm not excluded on age or any other factor.
Okay, I think I tired you out.
Okay,
Thank you, that was really good.
thank you, Jeff. That
Thank you
was
very
a
much.
great presentation, and you're doing great work. Thank you for all that. Thank you to the Rotary Group and Tier Energy Network too for everything that everybody's doing with us associated with that.
Thanks.
So, and thank you for your optimism. I need that, because I worry a lot because of what's coming. I know too much for my own mental health, and so.
Well, you have to be optimistic. People can see it on your face. So, I mean, we only move based on optimism.
Oh, what about anybody online? Anybody have any questions there?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hey,
Yeah.
see you around.
Oh, yeah.
I just gotta make one comment though, if you're looking for optimism, unfortunately now we have to look to China for optimism.
Oh, yeah.
And one aspect of optimism coming from China is that in the month of May, China installed 90 gigawatts of renewable energy. A gigawatt is as big as a traditional nuclear reactor.
Yes.
90 gigawatts in 1 month.
Yep.
They have the manufacturing expertise to do this huge scale and economic.
Yes.
And the United States is failing at this moment. So that's why I was asking about funding projects in places where we can get access to the cheap Chinese panels. But I don't care about politics, I care about the atmosphere.
Yeah.
The more clean energy you get
Right.
out there, the less crap you stick up in the atmosphere, and we're failing. The atmosphere is accommodated for that stuff with another 37 billion tons of carbon dioxide in 24, the highest ever. It's not going down. The only
Right.
time they ever took a pause was during COVID. We continue to put in approximately 36 to 37 billion tons of carbon dioxide every year. That stays up there. The lifetime of CO2 in the atmosphere is probably around 1,000 years. So when you drive your car around, that CO2 is being parked in the atmosphere for 1,000 years. It gets involved in the carbon cycle, but that's not being it either, because you can measure the CO2 level of these emissions to be funded at some place in Hawaii, you see the CO2 level continually go up
Yeah.
year after year.
Yeah, and then there's, we're starting to trigger self-reinforcing feedback loops where the tundra is melting and we're getting more and more wildfires that keep on, the wildfire season keeps getting longer and longer, and now you've got overlapping. It's pretty soon it's gonna be year round. And you've got Arctic fires that happen in the taiga forests that don't even go out. They just smolder in the winter and then they flare up again, and people don't have access to it because there's no roads. Not enough aircraft to fight these fires. So when people say, well, why doesn't Canada put out their fires? You don't understand how big the wilderness is. It's not something you can just do easily. They're trying to. So anyway, that's the negative side of what keeps me pessimistic, but I do appreciate the fact that economically speaking, things are getting more and more favorable. I just don't see it happening fast enough. And you're right. Thank you for.
World is getting more difficult. Like you say, 90%
Yeah, the excuse that people in the US used to say, well, how come we have to do something when China isn't doing it? When China now, like you said, is so much faster than everybody else. It's just like, wow, what they managed to accomplish.
Give enough, quit. And decide we're not going to push through this current administration.
Yes.
It's good insanity, just encourage insanity
Yes.
in this country.
Yeah.
So why not take advantage of what's good in the rest of it?
It's insane health-wise too, even if we didn't have the climate change problem. There's over 8 million deaths per year from fossil fuel air pollution alone. Multiple universities have studied and confirmed this. There's been multiple studies done. Depending on which study you look at, it could be 5 million or the high end is like 8.7 million, but I go with 8 because it's a round number. And it's hard to capture everything that it's asthma, cancer, cardiovascular disease, and even some forms of dementia. So why are we killing our people by trying to stick with fossil fuels and goosing that? And then the jobs argument doesn't make any sense either. The jobs growth is more with renewable energy as well, and it's better, safer jobs too. So nobody wants to mine coal. I mean, even if you're the son of a coal miner or the daughter of a coal miner, you don't really want to go in the coal mines because you know what happened to your parent. that was mining and your grandparent that was mining and got black lung disease, but anyway, all right, that's it. All right, Scott's giving me a, that's.
My job, cut you off.
Yeah,
Glenn,
Yeah,
I
anyway.
you.
all right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to see you.